But I'm now joined on stage by Cambian's Rad Sethuraman, who's got 25 years experience in product management. And by the magic of this technology, she should be joining me any second now. Come in, Rad. There we are.
Hi, Brian.
On cue, Rad. That was very impressive. I wasn't panicking for a second. How are you today?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you?
Good. I was really intrigued by that round table that JF did, because we've got to help these young people, haven't we? You know, post COVID, catch up on their education. It's very interesting again how technology is helping come to the rescue, isn't it?
Absolutely, and there are two great panels. Tough act to follow here.
Yeah, it was brilliant. Anyway, now you're going to talk about millimeter wave 2 Wi-Fi 6E, and the intriguing title is "What's in it for you?" So I'm sure we're dying to find out. So I'm going to hand the stage straight over to you because we're bang on time on the schedule.
Thank you, Brian. Appreciate it. Yeah, so I'm going to double click a little bit on the multi-gigabit wireless edge and focus the conversation a little bit more on Wi-Fi. And we have the next session coming up with Anthony. We'll talk a little bit more on the 60 gigahertz part. But as you kind of look at this whole problem of multi-gigabit edge, the action starts from the client side, right? And a little bit of stating the obvious here, but there are lots of things that are connecting to the Wi-Fi network today, right? And that number keeps exploding every year. 4.2 billion new devices join the network every year, right? So there's a phenomenal increase. And increasingly, a lot of these devices are also video content providers, right? And they're generating content which is driving bidirectional traffic from a video perspective. And that's really a key driver for both upstream and downstream performance, right? And so this is overall driving. And if you put it in the context of what users want, users are inherently mobile. They want to have a terrific performance on the network, regardless of where they're connecting to the network from. So that starts to now drive the need for a multi-gigabit edge. That also translates to wireless being a mission-critical asset for all organizations of all sizes. Now, if you kind of start to look at this from the organizational perspective, right? Businesses are looking at Wi-Fi and the wireless network overall as a platform to deliver business outcomes, right? What does it mean? And there's a lot of vertical specific flavors. I mean, we just came off a great session on education, right? Education campus, enterprise campuses all have a need for moving more towards a connected campus where you want to have pervasive coverage across the campus, seamless mobility across the campus, right? Campus security is becoming more important, which means you have a wide deployment of video cameras out there. How do we connect to those cameras? How do we backhaul the traffic coming from that camera? How do we deliver a high performance link to those cameras, right? That's a whole high multi-gigabit wireless backhaul comes into play. But then you look at, we also saw the initiative around Wi-Fi for EU, but this is a global phenomenon, right? Digital inclusion initiatives are happening all over the world, public Wi-Fi, smart cities, and really a lot of government spending has gone into this. This has been a key driver for Wi-Fi business over the last 18 months or so. Now, this expands, you can look at this from multiple verticals like healthcare, for example, medical grade networks. They want to do a rich experience for the medical devices in their network. In addition, want to do things like asset tracking of critical assets in the network, as well as patients. Retail, with COVID, a lot of people went outdoors, buy online, pick up curbside. How do I bring my POS experience? How do I do mobile POS outdoors? Right? A lot of different use cases that came up over the last year, driven by COVID. But in general, there are a lot more use cases across all verticals, right? Now, if you now look at this problem from the enterprise IT or a solution provider, service provider standpoint, this translates to a lot of complexity, right? They have a tall ask in terms of delivering an optimal client experience, in terms of mass roaming happening on the network, in terms of higher performance, hungry applications coming onto the network. How do I deliver on that SLA, right? And they don't have the time. No, I don't have the time to kind of look at all the data coming to the network. I don't have the time to analyze all the telemetry. Need more automation at the edge. I need more intelligent architecture that can give us insights. Tell me what's happening in the network, what action I need to take now. Increasingly, my network is more and more dispersed, geographically speaking. How do I do remote troubleshooting? How do I avoid having to send people on site, because not every site has an IT expert, right? But TCO, total cost of ownership, becomes really, really important in this time and space, right? And it's a cliche, right? The people talk about IT budgets have been flat or shrinking over the years. In today's world, right? So when that kind of translates to how Cambium uses this world. It's an end-to-end wireless fabric, multi-gigabit wireless from the backhaul to the edge, right? Outdoor 60 gigahertz CN wave solutions to Wi-Fi 6 indoor APs, now Wi-Fi 6E around the corner, right? But ultimately bringing this all together, and this is where the power of Cambium comes together. We have a unique portfolio, and we can stitch it all together with a common management story, right? This could be a cloud managed or on premises with CN Maestro. Now, if you kind of start to look at some of the trends, I want to double click on some of the trends we are seeing in the marketplace, right? One is cloud management is the fastest growing subsegment of networking, right? This is Dell'Oro reports from Q4 of last year, where cloud managed Wi-Fi grew 53% year over year in Q4. That is 4x more than on-premises managed deployments. Now, what is great about cloud, right? It's not just cloud for cloud's sake, but rather what it delivers. First and foremost, you get elastic scale. You can add on more capacity on demand, right? Very easy to scale the network up. You also get a lot more simplified operations, because now we can focus, as an IT administrator, I can focus on using the solution rather than trying to manage it. You get software upgrades happen on a continual basis. So end of the day, a lot more efficiencies in operating the network that translates to reduced TCO. Now, from a Cambium perspective, we look at this as management as one size doesn't fit all, right? It's not everybody wants to go to the cloud. So what we need to take a right size approach to management. But however, our design thinking is cloud first. What does it mean? Which means we organically think about scalability, security, and simplicity. These are fundamental tenets and how we make decisions on building the product. And we provide multiple options. A Swift mobile app that's both on Android and iOS that gives you a simple experience using a mobile device, mobile app to manage the network. You have a freemium cloud offer with CN Maestro Essentials being a license-free cloud, or it can be deployed on premises. It gives you that flexibility. And CN Maestro X, which has just been released a couple of quarters ago, that gives you more advanced functionality. And then we have XMS for ZIRIS deployments. Now, every Wi-Fi network, or every wireless network terminates in a switch, right? The switching network is the backbone of this whole Wi-Fi wireless network. Now, when we kind of started looking at CN Maestro, and increasingly, this is what's happening. Customers are looking to see, let me look at access holistically, Wi-Fi and wireless together. What's a unified solution? What simplifies my access network? And that was a key tenet of how we approached the design of CN Matrix, right? First and foremost, we want to say, how can we make Wi-Fi and switching better together, right? That's what we call wireless aware. And the fundamental capability there is policy-based automation, right? If I can, so for example, when I have an access point connecting to the network and there it is or a device connecting to the network, I should say, if it's a video camera, I want to put that device in the building infrastructure VLAN, and it's segmented off and siphoned away from the corporate VLAN, which has all my financial systems. So a break in the building infrastructure network or vulnerability there doesn't expose my corporate assets. So it starts with good segmentation. I think an earlier speaker touched on this, the importance of just not looking at unmanaged switch and a simple experience there, but more sophisticated capabilities with the same simple experience. So automatic device profiling gives you enhanced security. We looked at how we can simplify, zero-touch operations. A lot of times you do an upfront deployment, but networks change. Adds and changes happen to the network. New things are connected to the network. How do we make that whole process automated? How do we take out the human manual intervention that is required for configuration changes that introduces a lot of errors? So that's what one of the key tenets of CN Matrix. It's been a well-kept secret so far, but as people try it, they really love this solution, and the attach rate of CN Matrix is growing for us. Again, right-sized options. We have layer 2 switches for simple, cost-effective switches to more best-in-class layer 3 switches with good functionality, including options for 2.5 gigahertz interfaces, BT power, AC/DC power supplies, etc. And also, the switches have a rich capabilities in terms of we introduce a new line of switches, the TX switches, that is designed to work with our fixed wireless assets, bringing in things like GPS sync and integrated power options, etc. for that space. So ultimately, on the switching side as well, as we kind of industry moves towards more unified wired wireless switching, we bring a whole proposition of capabilities and TCO to this mix. So we bring it all together, right? The core value proposition for Cambium Enterprise comes down to industry-leading price performance, right? First and foremost, that is, if you look at our access points, the Wi-Fi 6 access points, it's software-defined radios, multiple radio designs. And this becomes very, very relevant as you go into Wi-Fi 6E. We'll touch on some of those details shortly. Right, the legacy of what we built with Cirrus comes into play as Wi-Fi evolves to the next generation. Freemium, feature-rich cloud options, right? Rich APIs, webhooks capabilities that really now able to take this infrastructure and very quickly connect it to third-party solutions. Solutions that customers may have, homegrown applications, so that we can now start to take a whole solution approach. Goes to that tenet about how Wi-Fi becomes a platform. And then industry-leading TCO, right? So to some extent, I hear from people saying, hey, listen, a lot of vendors talk about performance. They talk about having best TCO. So the approach we took was, it's not just enough saying it, we need to prove it, right? And so that's where we commissioned a Tolly testing of our Wi-Fi 6 products with major competitors. And across the board, upstream performance, downstream performance, we really came across very strongly. The architecture of a Wi-Fi AP, software-defined radios, really translates to better performance and certainly better price performance. So put the link there. If you've not seen it already, definitely I would encourage you to take a look at that. Another great sales tool, right? This is really even Gartner acknowledging, saying, a lot of people talk about TCO, that Cambium has really quantified it. The TCO profiler is an awesome tool to really work with your customer, work with their specifics, and to be able to demonstrate the commercial benefit that you get with working with Cambium, right? Again, if you're not used the 3CO profiler, I certainly encourage you to register. It's a free online tool for partners that really helps with the sales process. For an enterprise partner, here is why Cambium for enterprise partners, right? First and foremost, an end-to-end wireless fabric. We are the only vendor with a complete wireless solution, right? As the use cases are evolved, as more indoor outdoor networks converge, the whole solution of Wi-Fi with our backhaul products, indoor outdoor solutions, including for businesses and for homes, a really comprehensive wireless portfolio. We have taken a different approach, right? We have enterprise grade capabilities at a very disruptive price points, and also a freemium cloud offer. Even our free cloud is a very, very sophisticated cloud platform. So really transforming the way we are approaching the business model perspective also. So really a distinct alternative to traditional enterprise networking solutions out there. Compelling partner program benefits. I know Marco is going to be touching on this in more detail as we go forward. And finally, the TCO angle. So MSP, managed service providers, is another key area, right? There's a key, more and more you're seeing important component in how people deploy products, and the MSP functionality in CN Maestro is another key benefit there. I want to touch a little bit on the Cambium Enterprise Playbook here, right? Sales tools that enable the entire spectrum of a sales process. You know, you can have the TCO profiler and the Cambium online demos that helps you kind of articulate both the product as well as the commercial benefits of the solution. You have the Wi-Fi designer, a simple tool. If you want to design a simple network, want to do AP placements, try to estimate the number of APs you need for deployment. Very easy tool, online tool, and a free tool. BOM configurator, it simplifies the process of creating a BOM, and then you can bring it all together with our TCO profiler to create a formal proposal back to the customer. And the cloud solutions make it easy to spin up a new eval. So end to end, there are sales tools, and there's a lot more detail behind each of these that help with the process of the selling process that you have to go through with your customers. Switching gears a little bit, I want to speak about the technology evolution happening, right? So there is you have Wi-Fi has seen a lot of improvements over the last 20 years, right? From early days, a lot more capabilities. And now we are at Wi-Fi 6 and WiFi6E around the corner, 11AX, that really brings high performance, better battery life, and better resiliency to networks. And industry is already talking about Wi-Fi 7, which takes it to even wider channel widths, really high performance, up to 30 megabits per second, really high, very rich video experiences on this network. I mean, that's in the future, but let's look a little bit about what's coming immediately. WiFi6E is around the corner. And 6E really translates to the following, right? It is a Wi-Fi 6 that already shipping today in 2.4 and 5 gigahertz. It takes that and extends it to the 6 gigahertz spectrum. The E part of it really refers to Wi-Fi 11AX in 6 gigahertz. What are some of the key benefits, right? You get definitely more, a richer gigabit, excuse me. So more contiguous spectrum, right? There is clean spectrum. There are no legacy devices on this spectrum, right? It's not backward compatible from a device perspective. So the traditional interference sources that we had from older devices is largely absent in the 6 gigahertz spectrum. So more contiguous spectrum and translates to more gigabit speeds and less interference in the 6 gigahertz spectrum. Wider channels with more spectrum available, you can now actually have more 160 megahertz channels available. That's really improves performance and reduces the latency. So there are thoughtful rules being implemented by a lot of the regulatory agencies. There is no license required for Wi-Fi indoors, but if you go outdoors, you need automatic frequency coordination, AFC, that are required. Lot of spectrum available here, like in EU, that's 500 megahertz, excuse me, a spectrum that's available that doubles the capacity of Wi-Fi in sorry about that. Apologies for that. So 500 megahertz of spectrum, and really starts to drive more capacity for Wi-Fi going forward. So this is a chart that demonstrates a little bit more detail on what's coming. US and a few other countries have already opened up 1.2 gigahertz of spectrum. And there's a lot of conversation going because ideally the industry wants to have uniformity across the globe. So while it's only 500 megahertz in Europe right now, I think over time you will see likely more spectrum opened up there. I want to switch gears to now talk a little bit about how we are approaching this space in terms of product. What's a product roadmap for Wi-Fi 6 and WiFi6E? So today we have two products Wi-Fi 6 have been shipping. The XV2, which is a value line 2x2, fairly high performance when you compare to competing products in that space, and the high density capable 8x8 3 radio XV38. Right, these two are shipping products today. XV38 has the capabilities around software-defined radios, and it's multi-radio design, obviously. Right, we're going to have a busy 6-7 months of new products coming out to target this space. Right, first around the corner is a 2x2 outdoor Omni outdoor Wi-Fi 6 AP XV2-2T. That's coming in end of September. That's going to release end of Q3. Too soon to be followed with first Wi-Fi 6E product, a 3 radio design that's slated for Q4 this year. Right, that's a XV3-4. We're going to then, going to Q1, we will fill out the outdoor portfolio with a 120-degree sector built-in antenna. So it's a very modular design on our outdoor APs that allows us to bring in other variants to the mix. So the 2 radio 120-degree sector AP that comes in Q1 of 2022. And you're going to follow that up with a multi-radio, really top of the line, 8x8 multi-radio design. A little bit more details will come along as we go along here. That comes in again in later in Q1 next year. So a fairly broad portfolio. We're going to have fairly early in the market here with Wi-Fi 6E. Obviously, the transition to Wi-Fi 6 is still happening, right? Education, we heard that from the last panel. That's been the lead vertical for Wi-Fi 6, but we are starting to see, more broader adoption of Wi-Fi 6, and second half will be critical for Wi-Fi 6 overall. Now, I want to touch a little bit on the details of the Wi-Fi outdoor product that is coming up in Q3. That's XV2-2T. It's a dual radio. It has a built-in BLE radio. It Wi-Fi WPA3 security, also has the rich sensor mode functionality built in. But other things important here is a 2.5 gig interface and a PoE out, gigabit PoE out capability. So it's really a good product. If you're looking at the E500 class of deployment, good time to have a conversation with the customer about going to Wi-Fi 6. This will work both with XMS-C as well as CN Maestro. All right, so that's a little bit detail on the roadmap and upcoming products. And I want to talk a little bit about our overall approach to the market. From a go-to-market perspective, we are focused with vertical specific solutions. We heard a lot about education. We focus historically in hospitality markets. More recently, we launched programs for healthcare and managed service providers. So really a solution that is capable of operating in these different verticals and also optimizing for use cases in that verticals, coupled with go-to-market initiatives around programs to drive business in that spaces, right? So this has really been a good approach for us, and that has led to translated really, really strong business momentum across these verticals. Another key segment, we spent some time earlier today discussing this, but public Wi-Fi, right? Globally, a number of digital inclusion initiatives, and Cambium is very well suited, very well positioned competitively for this space. We compete day in and day out with top vendors who've been winning deals, fairly significant deals across the globe. You know, we heard about Wi-Fi for EU. We have, you know, more than 1,700 municipalities deploying Cambium solutions in 15 EU member states, right, for public Wi-Fi and smart city deployments. But we also have some really massive deployments globally, right? Digital India, where they're trying to light up 800,000 villages. In the first phase, we deployed over 30,000 APs, and there are more than 100,000 more to come, right? So really, really strong wins for us in that space. And even in Latin America, Caribbean Latin America, we have had some significant wins. You know, in Colombia, we had a large deal, 15,000 outdoor APs, lighting up remote communities, lighting up schools and businesses in those communities, and also providing wireless backhaul. We are the lead partner for Facebook for Express Wi-Fi. So really, very strong momentum. In the US, we are starting to see government funding going towards smart city deployments, and Cambium is a natural choice for those deployments. So very, very strong segment for us, this whole public Wi-Fi initiatives out there. So to bring it home, to kind of bring it all together, right? If you look at Wi-Fi, Wi-Fi is here to stay. Inherent capabilities of Wi-Fi really makes it ideal for digital transformation initiatives, right? If you look at this, there are 3.5 billion people who are unconnected. And there is a strong business and social, imperatives to get these people connected. Wi-Fi is proving out to be the default means of connecting those people. The market is going through a lot of transitions. Technology transitions are always a chance for disruption, right? Cambium brand is growing, and our value proposition I articulated is really resonating well. When people try Cambium solutions, both our switching, Wi-Fi, or cloud solutions, they are impressed by the capabilities. We thank you for the partnership. The journey, I believe, has just begun, right? There is tremendous runway up in front of us in terms of technology capabilities, in terms of market expansion. As the markets recover after COVID, this is going to be great fun years doing Wi-Fi together. So I look forward to the journey with all of you. With that, I will conclude my topic here. And if there are any questions, I can quickly take that and we can move on to the next session.
Thank you, Rad. That was really fascinating. I was tremendously excited to hear about what you're doing in India and South America. I mean, that's incredible.
Yeah, I think it's really it goes to governments seeing that economic development hinges on connecting the people, and Wi-Fi is a cost-effective means of doing it, and a very efficient means of doing it, and that's really translating into business opportunities for us.
I've just had a couple of questions come in. I'm going to read them straight off to you. The first one is, do you expect the customers will defer upgrades to their network till WiFi6E solutions become available?
You know, that's a great question, and that usually is a question on people's mind every time there is a technology transition that happens, right? But important to know that WiFi6 was a major innovation over Wi-Fi 5 and previous generation. So there are three ways you can look at this, right? One is going to Wi-Fi6E. What you're really getting is just more spectrum. The capabilities are already there in Wi-Fi 6. Also, there are a lot of old networks out there, right? People are still deploying Wi-Fi 11AC Wave 1 or even 11N sometimes. So good to get them to Wi-Fi 6 very quickly. Also, Wi-Fi 6E requires third radio, right? So it's a 3 radio design, a little bit maybe more expensive for people who are going to be cost sensitive, right? So if it's a cost effective solution, what they're looking for, Wi-Fi 6 is the right solution there. So there will always be a journey as people migrate, but I think don't wait, this would be my answer. Wi-Fi 6 gets a lot of efficiencies, higher performance, and better latency for video applications, and better battery life for devices. People should be considering that now, and that will happen.
Okay, that was a question from Elena Di Lorenzo. She's got a follow-up one, actually. With the release of CN Maestro X, is Cambium going to stop offering a free version of CN Maestro?
Great question again. No, absolutely not. I think for us, the freemium offer is an integral part of a strategy. There are some networks that need advanced functionality. There are some who want cloud functionality without the cost of deploying that. So we will continue to support CN Maestro Essentials, which is the free tier, which will continue to, it's a strategic component of the portfolio that will continue to exist. And we will continue to add more functionality. So I think over time, people are going to see the benefits that CN Maestro X provides, and we expect a lot of our customers to start adopting that. But no, both of them coexist for years to come.
Right. Okay. Thank you very much for talking to us and for taking those two questions. Thank you.
Appreciate that, Brian. Thank you.